Test. Whoa. That one works. Test, 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 test. Test, test, test. There we go. Test, test. Can you turn that W6 up a teeny bit more? Testing, testing, testing. Perfect.
Testing, testing.
Testing, testing. Can you hear me? Okay. How about this one? Can you hear me on this one too? Okay, perfect. How's everyone doing? Good. Oh man, it is chilly. My 3-year-old son Ezra, he woke up this morning and he was super excited to see a little bit of snow. in the backyard. So he put on his boots and he put on his sweater and he went running out, stomping on the snow and it was barely any snow on the floor on the ground, but he was pretty excited about that. But then I live in Scotts Valley, and but what was really exciting was on my drive in this morning, driving over 17. It felt like I was driving through Tahoe. I mean, it was really coming down. So it's pretty exciting. We'll see. I don't know. They say there's more coming, but who knows? So we were excited about our California blizzard this morning. Good to see everybody. Welcome. We will get started in just another minute or so. Typically for the community chats, the room is usually set up in like a circle, so it's, a little more, I don't know, chatty, community chatty. But shortly after the community chat is going to be a getting to know you event where two of our leadership team members are going to be meeting with Kate Brophy. And so we just figured we'll just set the chairs up for that and we'll make do for the community chat. Also, when we bring in the big guns, we know it's going to draw a bigger crowd than usual. So it's good to have a few extra chairs. What's that? All right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to our community chat. These are always enjoyable. For me, sometimes they get a little intense, which is good because sometimes we need to have some important conversations. Typically, we have held these community chats on the second and fourth Thursday of every month. We are going to be slightly changing the schedule moving forward. It is not 100% confirmed right now, but hopefully by tomorrow when the weekly updates go out, it will be 100% confirmed that we'll be shifting to having the community chats just on once a month on the third Thursday of every month. So we'll continue with the state of the business on the first Thursday of every month and the community chats on the third Thursday of every month. And that that will allow myself, as well as a few other members of the leadership team, to spend some more time meeting with all of you on a more individual basis in the dining room. So we have been spending a little bit more time eating with all of you in the dining rooms. And we look forward to continuing to do that as we sort of shift the schedule for these community chats. If there's anyone that is joining us for the first time at a community chat, welcome. We hope you keep coming. Really quickly, I want to mention just a few things before we get started off with just a couple quick announcements. Tomorrow evening at 6:30, tomorrow marks the 1-year mark of the war in Ukraine. And we will have a brief candlelight vigil. It was going to be in the Fountain Court, but I don't think that is going to be ideal given the weather forecasts. So it has been moved to inside the Galleria. So 6:30 tomorrow in the gallery. It'll be brief, 6:30 to 6:45, in honor of the ongoing war in Ukraine. So if you would like to participate, we'll see you at 6:30 tomorrow evening. Also, as I mentioned earlier, shortly after today's community chat, we'll have Kate Brophy will be presenting another Getting to Know You session, where she'll be meeting and interviewing for all to enjoy two members of our leadership team, Delette Miranda, who's our assisted living manager, and Charmaine Verador, who's our director of wellness and assisted living. So that'll be 3:30 here in the GRA. Some of you, if not all of you, are aware that last night we hosted an event in which we were able to welcome the Human Good Board and guests to our community. So we had an event that took place here in the GRA, and it was a good time. It was good to welcome all of our guests into our community, enjoy a nice meal and a little bit of entertainment, and that fortunately allows us to have Declan Brown with us today, who is, as many of you know, Declan's a member of the Human Good Board, and he's been not only a colleague, but I like to consider Declan a good friend, and hopefully he feels the same way as we've gotten to know each other over the years. So Declan, if you wouldn't mind just maybe introducing yourself and sharing a little bit about the Human Good Board, what the role of the board is, what your role in the board is, and anything about the meetings that have been taking place over the last couple of days. Oh, let me turn that on for you.
First of all, good afternoon. See, coming here is a homecoming for me. 10 years ago, I was on the ABHOW board. And oh, okay. Is that all right? Okay. And as a member of the ABHOW board, I was elected on February 22nd. Now, I wasn't at that meeting when I was elected, and there was a very important event taking place in my personal life. My granddaughter was born, and I was there to see it. So it coincides with my wonderful journey being part of a wonderful organization that continues to evolve. Others have heard me say, Bradley certainly knows, this is my favorite community. And I wound up moving to Southern California only because I really love warmth. But this community has a special place in my heart, no question about it. And it's been a 10-year journey, a lot of changes. And one of the things that I especially love about this community is the event you put on last night for the Human Good Board. I walked in to meetings today, and everyone to a person came up to me and said how wonderful that was to honor those who suffered through the Ukraine. And it was so enlightening to them that our communities are part of caring, remembering, and helping. And that's what's special about you. That's what's special about this community. And all of you know it who live here, and it's home. It becomes a real good feel. As things evolve from ABHOW to Human Good, one of the reasons I was asked to join the board was I was a mergers and acquisitions specialist in my career. I specialized in railroads, so I traveled the world doing mergers and acquisitions, both in North America, Europe, and Asia. Having that experience helped think through, does it make sense to do affiliations? And the affiliations make sense because we need to grow and protect the assets that all of you enjoy. Each community of its own within the Human Good family now is standalone. This man here is your leader and very important to us supporting the efforts that he makes to have your life continue to be meaningful and to help you through the times that you need help. That's what we're all about. We're a caring organization. Our mission goes from those who are less fortunate to those who have been able to have very successful lives and careers and find that it's time to move to a level where they can enjoy the fruits of their labor. And the board, once the merger affiliation took place between B Group and ABHOW, we formed a board, and there's 7 of us. We could grow to 9, but we're also continuing in our role, and one of our most important roles on the Human Good Board, which is the main governing board, is to see that our growth and we protect our assets and maintain the strength that we've had, but also grow in many ways. Things change and we have to change with it. We need to keep our physical plant strong. We need to keep services coming that relate to the needs of all of you. One of the reasons the board decided that we would take a community and be part of it is I can come to you as I am today to learn from you what we as a board need to know as we move forward, helping Bradley deliver to you the services and needs you have. Our role really is to oversee senior management directly. We're directly responsible for that, and we hold them accountable. Sometimes those are nice conversations. Sometimes they're very difficult conversations, as you can imagine in an organization that grows. But the idea is we want management to drive all their support and help through our residents and team members. We're blessed with great team members. So of all the communities throughout the nonprofit world in senior living, I hold us on the highest. Now, that's because I've observed other communities where they provide housing and services, food, the necessities. We want to go beyond that. We think that is the key to life, is that if we can provide the basics, let's look at moving people to their best lives throughout their entire lives. And so we're committed to that, and we hold our senior management accountable to helping, and it comes back through to Bradley, because he's the one who can inform us your needs. I think your chats are great. I've been a member of the CAB board ex officio for 10 years. So I've seen the changes that happen here, and they happen through conversation. And today, really, it's important for me to hear from you as well as me to make comments. And every time I'm here, I learn something. There's no question about it. Last time I was here, I was with Dan Ogus, And that helped me to see things that I didn't know operationally. Because part of our role is not really to dig into the day-to-day operations of any one community or any one facet of our business. We have to look at the organization as a whole. We are literally at 10,000 feet and above. And we count on our team members to deliver the services that our mission calls for. And we continue to get input from you through your committees here locally, and as resident council is that you have here reports up and works through another organization which presented some challenges to us at our meetings today, at board meetings, because they report back to us and give us a lot of information that we would get otherwise. So there is a channel of communication up to the board, which we guard and want to improve. So the sessions when I can come and be among the residents are probably one of the more important things that I do. I try to get here at least 3 or 4 times a year, and then I have a granddaughter up in San Francisco, so I will always stop by. So Bradley, just want to open up to questions, to thoughts, and listen in on your chat, because I'm going to learn a lot.
Perfect. Well, are there any immediate questions now that anyone has for Declan? I've got a microphone on.
Declan, I'm Paul Barish. I've been here for 15 plus years and observed that the entry requirements are being reviewed and looked at for a variety of reasons. One thing that's been of interest to me is in the form that people fill out, there's a place to address whether they're veterans, have that status. And it has not been always a follow-up if people leave it blank or whatever. At the same time, even though most people move in here with means testing for human good purposes, not knowing if they're veterans or not leaves something to be determined that could be impactful for them being able to stay here. In other words, veterans have benefits. So there's also a sense of community building because there are celebrations during the year, Veterans Day being one of them. And we don't always know who the veterans are. Just for your information, there are about 40 people here in the resident population. Not only that, there's about 40 surviving spouses. So that's a meaningful part of the population. And the request, not through channels, but direct to you, is that the question get answered when people become candidates for residency here. So it can be building a sense of caring in the future. Thank you.
I appreciate your comments. Being a veteran myself, I support those. I actually at one point was in a community. My first wife passed away, and I decided to move into a community which had many blessings. One was we had a veterans group there that we formed ourselves, you know, that actually pushed to just what you're asking. Is there a formalized way that we can recognize more readily and strongly the veterans and their spouses? That came up when Dan and I were here, and it hasn't gone on deaf ears. We're trying to figure out how we would roll that out. and it will be looked at very seriously.
Oh man, I'm gonna put it right in the middle, and then you can fight over the microphone to see who gets it first.
I was also at the Human Good Board meeting as the Northern California representative, as a resident. And I just have to tell you that Terraces of Los Gatos made me personally so very proud. And each of the members that told Declan how good it was also told me that I should be proud, because they thought that TLG did a great job last night. Not only with the presentation, the place looked lovely, but the food was good. And the tribute to the Ukraine was very, very touching, and it really got to everyone. So, and the fact that we had some entertainment that I'm hope will be brought back for all the residents to see, because they were wonderful, and a donation was made to the Ukraine fund by Human Good by doing this.
Thank you for that. And maybe I'll provide a little bit of context about what took place last night. So we had a dinner. Before the dinner, what we wanted to do, I don't know how these board events typically go, and they're once a year, twice a year. I'm not sure.
We try to do any location where we go to a community,
Okay.
as part of our board work. Twice a year we meet in person now, once on Zoom, and then the big connect.
Okay. So the idea was that they would come in and have a dinner and some sort of, entertainment or presentation for the evening. And as we were sort of discussing as a team what we wanted to do, we decided that we really wanted to, one, hopefully make it an enjoyable evening, but also make it meaningful and highlighting what I feel is, some of the heart of the community. And so at the beginning, before dinner, Mike Brulot, one of our residents, he and several other residents, some of you I believe have been meeting weekly since the start of the war, and with a group called Thoughts and Prayers for Peace in Ukraine. And Mike wrote a beautiful poem that he shared last night about the Ukrainian children. And then a quartet from TL Glee sang a beautiful number. And then after dinner, we had several Ukrainian and Ukrainian American performers that were incredibly talented. I've got to say, it was a little bit of a roll of the dice because none of us had actually seen any of them performing in person. So we really were hoping for the best, but worried that it could go terribly wrong. But there was an opera singer who sings with the San Jose Opera. There was a dancer who did some traditional Ukrainian dances, and musicians who played the piano, the cello, and the violin. And it was much better than we had actually hoped for. And so anyways, it was a great opportunity to have a meaningful evening and highlight our goal as a community to think. Is everybody okay? Okay. I've got a note about that issue in my list of things to bring up. But anyways, it was a wonderful event. So we hope to, we're already in conversations and hope to be able to have at least some of the entertainers come back for another event for the entire community. Yeah, I think it would be great. Pat.
Welcome back. We had lunch with you the last time you were here. I have a general question, but it all mainly pertains to us, I must say. And that is, recently we had an outage, a power outage, and we have concerns about people up on the second and third floors and how to take care of them in case of an emergency such as this, if they have to go to doctor appointments or whatever, because the elevators are out. So I know you don't have an answer now, I'm sure you don't, but is there something that you might be able to think of to help us here? Because I know Bradley's trying to help and think of something that we could do. And I'm just wondering if you and Board Human Good could help him and help us with this.
Very appropriate. I'm glad you brought that up because at our meeting today, we try to have an educational session. As most of you know, we had a fire at Grand Lake Gardens, which really resulted in us having to close that community because of the extensive water damage. No serious injury and no loss of life, thank God. We have heightened awareness, not only because of that, but because our EDs like Bradley have come back and said, we need some help. We need support. So Dan rolled out a program which over the next several months, each community will receive new training guidelines, which will involve all residents. It will address the concerns that you have. How do we take care of people who are incapacitated? How do we as residents help? And what training do we need? So it's on the top of the list because safety is critical. I know Bradley and I have had those conversations that his role is safety, health first. And we went through COVID and had to do some things that we wouldn't ordinarily do, but as a group, we stuck together. But we have to get you informed and then heightened training. That's very important. It's been happening in some communities, but not across the board. And so Dan made it clear that that's high on his agenda to support the EDs, and we'll be rolling it out starting, I think he said, in April and throughout the rest of the year.
Also, thank you. On that note as well, just an update with respect to specifically about the possibility of having backup power to the elevators. Our electrical contractor has completed their evaluation and determined that from their standpoint, it's feasible, and they've put together a proposal of what would need to happen in order to make that feasible. Now we are working with our architecture firm who is working in communication with the town of Los Gatos and the elevator engineer and the elevator company to determine what the feasibility is based on all of the current code requirements to make that happen. So it is in their hands at the moment to kind of bring us to the next step to see what would, one, is it possible with the current code requirements? And if so, what we would need to do and what the feasibility and the timelines would be to be able to make that happen. And then if we determine that, yes, it is feasible and it is something that we can move forward with, then we get a final quote for what the total cost would be. And then that's when it may trickle over to Declan and his team and, you know, the appropriate levels for approvals for that project. So that is making its way through the process to determine if that is something that we can do. There was a hand or two over here. All right. Yeah.
We are fairly new residents since November we got here. And we are really, am I on? No. We really like it here. There's one thing besides the safety of the elevators is that struck us that the residents, they all look very much alike. And I was wondering if that could be approached by management and not just wait till people of other skin colors are coming in, because I myself might not want to be facing such a wide crowd. And I think it might work if just from the whole organization on, people could be enticed to come in and just diversify the group. And that also goes for, and they might be here, the gay community, but then they're hiding out, and that would be a shame to have to do that till the rest of your life. So that's my input. And it's all part of, just quality of life. We have lived in various countries and places, and the ones that we feel most comfortable in is when there's a variety of people and not just one type. And we were in one place that we happened to be in the right minority and being accepted, but even that it feels not quite normal, not good.
Thank you for bringing that up. And I've got a lot to say, and I know Declan as well, as this is a topic that we've had extensive conversation about. I'll take the second point first. And yes, I will try to summarize it. And if I get anything wrong, please correct me. I'll be maybe a little direct. We're all white, with I think one exception in the room. The comment is, are there any efforts that can be made or are being made to ensure that our communities are welcoming to a diverse resident and team member population, so that residents or prospective residents of all backgrounds, of all skin colors, of all gender preferences and identities are welcome at our communities. So about a year ago, I think, maybe a little less than a year ago, maybe 9 months ago, we held a town hall forum similar to what we're doing today, where we talked about LGBTQ issues. And we talked about why it is important and some things that we can do to ensure that our community is welcoming to all members of the LGBTQ community. And one of the things that we took away from that is we've actually confirmed a partnership for our community with an organization called Sage Care. What Sage Care is, it's a group that's based back east in Philadelphia, I think. And they are a nonprofit group that works towards works for advocacy and training for communities on the topic of LGBTQ advocacy for older adults. And we've confirmed a partnership with them, which will be starting at some point to be determined this year. well, we'll be kicking off training for all of our team members on the issue of LGBTQ sensitivity and what we can do as a community to make sure that we are being as welcoming as is necessary and as is appropriate. I'm really looking forward to that, and I think that will kickstart hopefully ongoing efforts, not only to ensure we're a community where members of the LGBT community feel welcome, but any community that may feel unwelcome for one reason or another. Also, over, I don't know, a couple of years ago, in collaboration with Declan and a few other partners within the Human Good organization, we initiated some ongoing conversations on the topic of race and having discussions about what we can do as a community and as an organization to make sure that we are doing our part to create equity and a sense of inclusion throughout our communities and beyond. I don't know, Declan, if you have anything else to share on the topic.
Yeah, when you convene those discussions on race, it was triggered by events that had everyone concerned. What has always been a challenge is how do you keep that discussion going? Not just when there's a crisis, but as everyday business, as a matter of fact that we're an open and welcoming community. It's one thing to say it, it's another to help it happen. If we looked at the total of human good, we would see diversity among communities, especially when it comes to the affordable housing community. We have 98 of those communities. Based on the fact that these are people who would not have this kind of opportunity if we didn't make it affordable. And that speaks to those who are lower income. But also in the lower income communities, you do see situations where racially people want to be with their own race. That's very different than not being welcomed at a community. It's by choice. And our challenge with our life plan communities is the cost of entry. There's no question about that. It's a huge factor. We have considered many things. How do we make that work? How do we make inclusion really happening? And it's going to be an ongoing challenge to move forward. What we support from the board level is trying to find ways to do that in our communities and also communities we're thinking of in the future. But I'm glad you brought that up because it's not only you that it's important, but many members of this community support what you're saying, the openness and welcoming of the community. Exactly. Thank you for that. See, this is the value of coming here and hearing all your voices, is I can go back, have discussions, and look at new ways that we can do that. Our sales efforts have been in all communities. It's been heightened. We've got a big list of potential people who would come in. Fortunately, on the operational side, our our communities are relatively full. And we've had a lot of new residents come in like yourself. And so, but we will continue to have these wait lists and be able to go back to people and have them want to get into these communities.
One other thing as well that I failed to mention earlier is that about maybe it was 3 years ago now, as an organization, we launched what's referred to as our Inclusion Council. And so it's a council of team members from various communities, both life plan communities and affordable housing communities, and also team members from our community support centers that are strategizing ways to reach our goal to be an inclusive organization. Some of the efforts that are being made are things like additional training, and then also, we're strategically looking at, are there ways where we can create more operational partnerships with some of our affordable housing communities to maybe break down some of those barriers, and also so that we can learn from each other, and also looking at things like internal growth. One of the things that we have seen as we've looked at the structure of our organization is, and I'm maybe will be a little direct, and I hope I don't sound inappropriate, but the higher you get on the organizational level within the communities, the less diverse of the team gets. So our frontline team members are oftentimes of a background or a skin color that is not what the background and skin color is of our senior management. And so we're looking at ways, how do we promote that internal growth so that we can take some of our team members and create a more diverse leadership teams throughout our communities. So as Declan mentioned, it certainly is something that is on top of mind for both team members and residents, and hopefully we'll find more ways to do even better in the months and years to come. There was Phil.
Just going to make a comment that a large percentage of our residents here come within a stone's throw of this place. And if you drive around the neighborhoods, you're not going to see the mixture that this lady probably would like to see. So it's going to be, it's difficult to achieve what you're after. And I can't imagine anyone not being welcomed here. This is the most welcoming place I know.
Thank you. Questions, comments on any topic? Back to Paul.
Recently, a group of Terraces residents had a chance to visit an affordable living community. And that community was a minority Caucasian. So we could see through not just the staff, but the residents about the diversity in action. And personal background, I have lived in a minority status for several life experiences with my family where we were the minority. It was a very interesting observation. The residents we talked to who were on the residents council and the staff said that there was a lot of privacy concern expressed to Human Good, that Human Good did not allow the topic to be fully addressed. People's names weren't able to be posted on their resident doors. I was very surprised at this. And the whole topic of diversity by the staff, as we talked about it, was in language groups, not Asian or other attribution to nationality, but it was kind of a workaround to the discussion of something you mentioned, where people of a similar background tend to group together. That community is only 10 miles from here. And my observations are that there's a lot of diversity in Los Gatos. And there's a lot of diversity in Silicon Valley in management and leadership roles. So I think there's some built-in bias that gets expressed. I've lived and received it, and it's maybe part of our species, that it's there. And I don't think any single organization is going to be able to address it, but you can see it in school systems and funding, and it's just a reality.
Thank you, Paul.
Hello, Declan, how nice to have you here. I was interested that just a couple of nights ago, like Willa says, this is so obvious to us sitting around. And there were 4 of us at this dinner table. And somebody brought up the fact that isn't it too bad that we don't have more diversity? And we all said, I know, I wish that we would get some other people with other colors of skin. It's a wonderful place. We love it. But I have my daughter is a teacher, my granddaughter is a teacher. Look at the schools. Nowadays, there may be one Caucasian in the class, and the others are for all different countries. And eventually, this is going to filter into their growing up. There's going to be more and more diversity. It's going to take more time, I feel. But I know my grandkids don't even think about the color of people's skin. They're so used to all their playmates, all their schoolmates are all different races.
Thank you for that comment. Good. What a good discussion. Any other questions on this topic or any other topic? Questions, comments? All right. Well, I've got a couple of things on my list that where did I put my list? Over here. That happens when I meander. All right, let's see. All right, we talked about elevators. We don't need to talk about that anymore at the moment. But I'm happy to. Just a couple of other maintenance and sort of buildings and grounds related items. In the lodge and assisted living in the dining room, there have been some requests for additional televisions and that will be utilized for the digital signs, similar to what we have across from the concierge desk or outside the main dining room. I believe there are 2 additional televisions, one that will be going in the one of the walls in the lodge dining room and one in the dining parlor. Those 2 televisions have been purchased and I believe they arrived yesterday. We are going to have an electrician that comes out next week. I don't have the day, but they'll be here next week to do the wiring for those televisions. And once they're hung, then IT needs to go in and configure them appropriately for the digital signage. So that is coming, and we appreciate those suggestions to have those installed. couple of other quick items to follow up on from some previous conversations. We have three pending projects. We have a lot of pending projects, but three pending projects that are all, we're working with the same contractor for those three projects. So I'll give an update that kind of on all three of those. The three projects that this particular contractor is working on is the renovation remodel of the team member break room. Not that that directly impacts you, but it directly impacts our team members, and we want our team members to be happy and enjoy working here. So it ultimately does impact the entire community. But the team member break room, as well as the team member restrooms that are located outside the team member break room, and also the restrooms, the pool restrooms, the restrooms that are in the outside by the pool. The plans for all of those three projects have been reviewed and approved. The contractor that we're working with has scheduled the vendor for the partitions, the restroom partitions, as well as the lockers for the team member area. They're going to be here next week to take final measurements of all of those spaces. From them, they will work on a schedule for the manufacturing and shipment of the necessary supplies for those projects. So after that work is done, then the contractor will be able to give us a more firm timeline of when those projects will start and finish. With respect to the Rose Garden, two questions that have been brought up are the shed. There's a shed that is being planned to be installed out by the Rose Garden to house a lot of the equipment and supplies, some of which, from what I understand, has gone missing over the past several months. We have a shed designed, planned for that space. And from what I understand, there's a meeting with the gardening committee on the 20th of March, where hopefully the approval of that plan, we'll get the approval of that plan to move forward with that shed. As far as the cameras go for the Rose Garden, Vincent has had a heck of a time actually getting in contact and getting some concrete information from the security camera vendor that we have worked with for most of the work throughout the community. And so he's been exploring, trying to get information from them, but also exploring other possible vendors. I think we have the vendor selected, and we're waiting from a quote from them. So that is moving. The speaker issue that we just experienced, I think that's the issue that was brought up previously. I had never experienced it myself until about 30 minutes ago, so it was perfect timing. Now I know this speaker issue that everybody's talking about. Vincent's working with our audiovisual contractor partner to determine how to fix it. From what I understand, it sounds like it is an amp that has gone bad. I don't know exactly what that means, to be totally honest, but they are working on a plan to make sure that whatever the issue is resolved. A couple of other things. I have a very exciting announcement. I had mentioned earlier some of our efforts to create career paths for our team members to grow and advance in their professional careers, either within, ideally within the community, but definitely within the organization. We will be making an official written announcement. I think it'll be in the weekly updates tomorrow, if we can get everything finalized. If not, it'll be early next week. But I'm pleased to share that Rolando Delgadillo from our maintenance department has accepted an offer to move into the maintenance supervisor role. Which is, yeah, we can clap for Rolando. He's not here, but yes. So Rolando is a fabulous team member, and he's just a really great guy. Rolando's been with us, if I'm not mistaken, for 19 years. He started here at the Terraces when he was in high school as a server in the dining room. And he worked in the dining room for, I'm not sure how long, a couple of years, I believe. And I think from what I hear, he sort of maybe unofficially, but he took on some leadership, a little bit of leadership role within the dining room. He eventually transitioned into the maintenance team, and he's been with the maintenance team for most of the time that he's been here at the Terraces. And we're super excited that he will be transitioning into that role. I think the official effective date is not, I believe it's either next Monday or the following Monday when he officially starts in that capacity. So we're very excited about that, which is great. But then that just means we need to replace his position too. So we are continuing our search for additions to our maintenance team, not in the supervisor capacity, but as maintenance workers. So if you see Rolando, although we haven't officially sent out the notification yet, I'm sure he would appreciate congratulations. One of the other things that we have started doing this year is, and this was in response to both the team member, primarily actually to the team member experience survey. Our team members expressed there was a little bit of a disconnect between the frontline team members and the leadership team members. And one of our many efforts to address that is we've started what we're calling a day in the life of program, where members of our leadership team are spending a day in the life of team members that are frontline team members, providing direct service or support to the residents. And so each month we have a different department that we're focusing on. And this month we're focusing on our team members in the lodge or in assisted living. And so today, actually, Bill Penrod, who's our health services administrator, and Ronnie Santos, who's our director of finance, they have been working, spending a day in the life of our assisted living team members. And I'm really looking forward to, we have sort of a report that they complete afterwards, and then they report back to the leadership team and report back to our team members, and then we'll hear from them in our next State of the Business meeting. But I did get a chance to speak with both of them briefly in passing, and the feedback so far from Bill, Health Services Administrator, what he told me is, and I quote, "My back is hurting," and I quote from Ronnie Santos, the finance director, "My break is not long enough." So they're both experiencing what it truly is like to be one of our team members in assisted living. So again, we'll hear more from them at our next State of the Business meeting. And if you see them running around looking like they're doing not their normal jobs, that's why. One last item on the topic of finance. We are, several residents and family members actually have reached out to me and reached out to Ronnie in our finance department about the end of the year tax letters for medical deductions. Each year, we receive a letter that then is distributed to all of the residents that outlines what portion of their monthly fees can be listed as medical deductions for tax purposes. We haven't actually received that letter yet. I had a call, I was in a meeting yesterday with Andy McDonald, who's our CFO, and they are working very, very hard to get those letters finalized and out and distributed. We anticipate they will be out before the end of the month, but we don't have a definitive date yet. But I just want to assure you that we are doing everything that we can to push to get those letters out to you as quickly as possible. That's a good question. The question was, is it something that's tabulated for each individual resident for every at every community? And I think the way that it works is there's sort of a standard formula that's worked out that is then used for all of the residents. But yeah, we unfortunately don't have that finalized information yet. But as soon as we have it, we'll get it out to you. So the question was, is there a dramatic variance year to year from how that amount is calculated? To be perfectly honest, I don't actually know. I would anticipate, I would expect there's not a significant difference, but to be fully transparent, I don't know what's involved in that process. No, Ronnie would have the best idea of kind of how that's been calculated year after year. Bill. Ooh. Start over, if you don't mind.
The second one is a prorated value of, once you've been here 90 days, then 2% of your initiation fee gets transferred to the human good account. And so as that diminishes, so does that portion of the half of the deduction that you're getting. So it's two parts. One part's pretty constant, the other part varies.
Thank you for that. It is 2:30 exactly. Are there any final questions or comments? We'll end on Marion Shane. Marion, bring us home. End us on a good note.
Well, this is going to be delightful. It doesn't have anything to do with money. On the 28th of February, which is a Tuesday, we are going to have 2 police dogs visiting us, along with a police captain and another person. So I think it's going to be well worth coming to. That's going to be this coming Tuesday at 3:30. And I think you'll all enjoy the program.
Thank you so much. I thought you were going to say there are going to be 2 police dogs and 1 police cat, but it was captain. And I was like, whoa, I didn't know there were police cats, but that's cool. Anyways, I think that's going to be great. I have that on my schedule because I don't want to miss that. Then thank you, Marion, for coordinating that and all of the Community Currents events. Thank you all for being here. Declan, thank you for being here. And thank you for all you do. And don't forget 3:30, getting to know you with Delette and Charmaine.
I
You're what?
didn't know.
Any chance that- you
Good, I know that.
Just down the road. Sure.
Why
Yeah,
not?
why not?
Why not?
Right?
Well,
And then Bradley, well, why don't you come on back?
Bradley, it's great to have you here, really. It's nice. Yeah, that's what she said last year. I think it was last year. I don't know. We've been here now a year and a half. And it's been wonderful for us. Yeah. Well, good to see you and thank you for coming. Yes. We'll see you again. I know.
Didn't realize you were a veteran, but we both been in Oregon.
I just
Wanna
wanted
get
to
that?
say hello.
Oh,
I'm Dick Garland's wife. And I knew you, yes, and I met you many years ago when you were still ABHA.
Yeah.
And we were at a dinner And so I never had heard the name Declan before, so I've never forgotten you.
Good Irishman.
Well, Have a good
Thank
day and
you.
thank you
Yeah.
for being here.
Yeah, thanks for your comments. Thank
Sure.
you.
So we both been an organization that transitioned from segregated to non-segregated. military.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
it's a work in progress and it's
Oh.
only been 60 years.
Oh.
But-
There's still issues, right? There we go.
But I will send you some material. There's a world famous artist whose exhibit is going to take place in the Museum of Fine Arts at T. Young in San
Oh, really?
Francisco. And
Okay.
his residence is on the cover of Architectural Digest this month. And he's from Africa. And
thank you.
I think US citizenship at this point.
Okay.
But it's quite noteworthy. And I'm gonna try and get the terraces, take a bus up and see this.
Yeah, no, that'd be an event that
Yeah.
I would want to.
So
Really could.
you'll have the contact information.
Okay, yeah, because I get all the weekly
Right.
information.
Yeah. I want you to know about the, it was going to be up there for several months.
Yeah, seeing out back and forth.
Yeah.
You know, the
Yeah.
big driver for me is your granddad.
Good seeing you again.
Good seeing you. Yeah?
Yeah, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Maybe we need you in here to move on.
Well, now. I was looking to go, where do I go? I've always loved San Diego. So I went to White Sands.
Good
I
for
was
you,
there.
yeah.
That's where I threw the vice president of sales and do life.
Well,
It's just been a blessing.
Yes.
And so, yeah,
Well, I'm not quite sure what this lady's after, but if you look around, there's a lot of Orientals, a lot of Indians from India, Indian descent.
it's new here. You
Yeah,
know, as she gets through the community, because one of the, I
it'll be
started to
fine.
mention security, and then things got away was, I remember I was invited to speak on multicultural
Here.
here. And that it is thought about here, and it doesn't happen in any of our other communities. At White Sands, they do honor everyone, but, you know, that was special.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm glad it's done here, and it
Well,
makes sense, yeah.
This guy is very sensitive about that.
Oh, just the fact, I can tell you. I've been to a lot of board meetings where we come to communities. And yeah, we have a nice repast, dinner and conversation. But nothing like last night
Yeah, that's
about
good.
Ukraine,
That's good.
okay? Which says eons about this community, you know?
NASCAR has the same problem.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
One black driver. And I just figured